Hello, fight fans. Welcome to another episode of More Than a Fight Podcast. I am your host, Jose Alfredo Alcázar. Thank you for tuning in. And behind the camera, we have
John.
And this episode is dedicated to the world of boxing. We had two cards this weekend, but we're going to kick it off in Las Vegas, where we had the main event, which was Rolly Romero against Barrosos from Venezuela. Isamel Barroso from Venezuela. And of course, this was supposed to be a really a tune-up fight, if you will, for Mr. Rolando Romero. But unfortunately, it was anything but. How'd you see this one, John?
Yeah, I definitely did not realize that Barroso was going to come in like that. I think basically everybody rid him off.
Mm-hmm.
You
Boom,
know?
and that's why he puts him down in the third.
Yeah. So starts off strong, puts him down in the third, and then Romero to me looked like he was fighting scared, and he did say after the fight that Barroso hits harder than Tank David.
Well, Barrosos has 22 knockouts on his resume, so you don't get the 22 knockouts if you hit like if you had pillows for fists. But obviously, this dude had a certain level of danger, or posed a certain level of danger. But for me, if you're the 23-year-old and the other guy's 40, granted the man does not look 40. Let's be honest, he probably looks like he's 59, something like that. Look at that. Well, I'm not trying to disrespect the man, but dude, homie looks like he's
It's a hard 40.
He shouldn't be. Yes, exactly. Like he's definitely a boxer at 40. Let's put it that way. But man, he came out and he took it to Romero.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, like, how's Romero gonna come out? What's he gonna look like? I thought he was gonna try to put him away early, but the more the rounds went on, the more I was like, nope, dude, already we're too late in the fight. Even if you knock him out. And now we come to the issue. 9th round. Barrosos is ahead, in my opinion. Without me knowing the scores at the time, I had Barrosos ahead. How did you have it? In the 9th, before it even began.
Yeah, I had Barroso ahead.
Yes. So then the 9th comes around. In the 9th round, Rolly lands a couple good shots, but right here, I believe this is the sequence. Oh, no. This is the stoppage. But before this even happens, Rolly is throwing a couple shots in the corner, and he uses his right hand, if I'm not mistaken, and it looks like a punch, but it clearly isn't, and he pushes Barrosos down. And for some reason, Tony Weeks calls it a knockdown, which he should not have done. It was a clear push, not a punch. And for those of you who don't know, you cannot push a fighter to the ground. It must be a punch. You cannot do that. It has to be a punch. You cannot push. So that was the first issue with me with Tony Weeks before we got to what you just showed. Then what transpired was what you showed. Then Romero pounces on Barrosos, clearly thinking he was hurt, and then this happens. And if you were watching the fight in real time, it is clear as day that Rolly didn't land anything of significance that will make you go, stop the fight. This man's going to get hurt. Yes, I know he's 40 years old, but what in that sequence did you see that made sense for what Tony Weeks did?
So, like you said, the knockdown before, technically, and then there was one part where it looked like he got sat down. But it was more that Barroso was just trying to duck the shot.
Yes.
And I think...
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about, yes.
And so it almost seems like, like right about... where is...
Even there's pushing him there.
Yeah. But I think that was what Tony Weeks was thinking. It's a terrible stance.
Especially without a shadow of a doubt.
From Tony Weeks, who's presided over some shit that were like, dude, whoa, why didn't you stop
That's the hardest thing for me to try to like wrap my brain around is Tony Weeks is a seasoned veteran, a potentially Hall of Fame referee, and he does this nonsense. Not only with this stoppage, but again, that was not a knockdown, and he counted it a knockdown. My curiosity was, before they even stopped the fight, I was like, okay, I kept saying, let's see when the round ends, are they going to challenge it or review it like they did against oh man, what fight were we watching? I can't remember the fight, but the guy's glove looks like it touches the canvas, and at the end of the round, it's reviewed by the ringside people. And I wanted to see if that was going to happen in this fight, if they were going to review the supposed knockdown, which wasn't. Again, it was a push-off. And again, how somebody like Tony Weeks missed that makes sense now, because that's what he thought garnered a stoppage, which was absolute nonsense. And here's why I tweeted what I tweeted at the time. I said that PBC and Showtime were protecting their asset, which is Rolly Romero. There was no reason for that to be stopped, other than they want to continue to try to make some money off of Romero. And the only way you can do that is for him to knock this guy out. You can't go to a decision with a 40-year-old man. That's not going to look good, even if you win. Because even in the scorecards, all three judges, and if you have the image of the scorecards, we'll look at it right now. All three judges had Barroso's winning the fight. One judge, I believe, had it 78-73. The other judge had it 77-74. And the third judge had it, there you go, 76-75. So all three had him winning. The judge on the far left, my left, your right, has it by 1 point, which I think is silly. I don't know how he had that. And then let's say the knockdown would have counted. Rolly would have gotten a 10-8, which he shouldn't. He could have still potentially mathematically won the fight had he won the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. But we don't know what would have happened. So that leads me to believe that the PBC, Showtime, and whoever else was behind this fight needed Romero to win convincingly. Because then what happened after the fight? John, who'd he call out?
Called out Ryan Garcia.
And then he said pay-per-view. Come on, dude. Come on. This is far worse than what Ryan did, in my opinion. Because at least Ryan lost to a top tier, if not the best guy at the weight class they fought in. But no, to me, Romero comes out the loser, even though he won. And more importantly, Tony Weeks just, I don't want to say he ruined his career, but now it's hard to look at the man the same. And it sucks.
Oh, let's slow down, okay? I mean, you think it's a conspiracy?
Oh, absolutely. I think they wanted Romero to win, but more importantly, they realized he was struggling and they needed him to knock him out. Because how do you sell the man after going the distance with a 40-year-old who was a fill-in, mind you? It's not like Barroso's had a 6-week camp to get ready for Romero, and vice versa. Romero didn't have 6 weeks to get ready for this guy. All he knew is the man had knockout power as far as Romero's concerned. Barroso's, all he knew is that Romero was a young bull and somebody he needed to be careful with. Beyond that, I mean, how else do you pitch Romero if he goes the decision? If you're the promoter.
Yeah.
My guy couldn't knock out a 40-year-old man.
Well, no, that's the problem, right? You're not going to be able to sell that with a Garcia fight, but he does have a mandatory, which is O'Hara Davies.
Yes.
And they are actually suing to make sure that it is a mandatory. And as you can see here, he's saying, I will not be accepting step-aside money of any amount. We need blood to spill in its rightful place.
But even this upsets me, and I'll go back to my issue with some of the things that happened in boxing. And obviously this is a big one because Tony Weeks was complicit. Somebody got in his ear and told him, we need this guy to win by knockout. Whether he does it or you do it. So I don't want to see Rolly Romero get a mandatory with O'Hara Davies because he doesn't deserve it. But he's probably going to get it. And it sucks.
No, I think you're missing the point. I think O'Hara Davies beats Romero.
At this point, yes, I'm rooting for O'Hara Davies all the way.
Not a root, but I'm saying Howard Davies looks at that fight. It's like, oh, I can take him.
Oh,
No problem.
absolutely. If you saw what he did against Tank and then what happened this past Saturday, absolutely. If I'm O'Hara Davies all day, I'm like, I'll eat this cat alive. If I can catch him, because he's obviously susceptible, he's been knocked down twice. Once by a legitimate, the best guy at the weight class, and then another one by a 40-year-old. O'Hara is probably licking his chops. And why wouldn't he? But I just don't like the fact that, let's say Romero somehow pulls it out. I hope on his own and not with the help of the referee and his promotional company. Then he gets a shot at a title. And more importantly, here's my other thing. And you tell me what you think. If that would have been Alberto Puello without the PED nonsense, I think Puello would have knocked him out. Or, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, but then you don't know about Pollo, right? Now, with the PED stuff, you don't know what version you would get.
No, but what I'm saying is, let's say that Puello had not got busted. Let's say that fight would have actually happened.
Yeah.
Maybe this was a blessing for Oli because maybe Puello would have knocked him out.
Probably.
Because Puello was 30 in his prime. Unfortunately, he got busted like an imbecile. And this looks far worse for Romero, honestly, even though he won again. I think he looks a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he bounces back. And if I'm Ryan Garcia, why do I want to fight Rolly Romero? For what?
Huh.
Nobody's going to give him any credit if Ryan beats him. At least I don't think they will.
And then we'll move over to the other card of the night in Janibek versus Butler.
Yeah, all the way from Stockton, California.
And Janibek, Butler felt bad for this guy. And it's almost bad for Janibek, right? He just can't get a fight. So Janibek did him in two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on this one, the only thing I will say is Jack Reese should have stopped it a lot sooner than he did. I don't think there was a reason for Butler to get put down 3 times. I think at the second knockdown, it should have been enough. Before this, he should have stopped it. Yes, I know Butler got up, but if you watch the fight, he's clearly hurt after the first knockdown. And I know Jack Reese tries to do the things a ref is supposed to do. Give me your gloves, side to side, come to me. He wipes his gloves off on his shirt like they normally do. But you could tell he was hurt. You could tell there was probably, he should have watched him a lot closer once he let him back after the first knockdown. And then once Janibek landed some shots, he should have stopped it. But I get it. Butler has a heart. He's a fighter. Maybe Jack Reese is like, you know what? I'm going to let this kid give it his all. It's a title fight. So maybe that was his reasoning. But I thought Reese should have stopped it sooner.
Maybe Tony Weeks saw this fight before the Romero fight.
Man. Ridiculous. But no, Janibek,
he's calling out Charlo and Canelo. He's calling out the big name.
Yeah, I don't ever say Canelo, but
I don't know.
I would like to see Charlo, but apparently we'll touch on that on news and notes. Apparently Charlo has somebody else in mind. I would like to see Janibek fight Munguia. I don't know if Munguia will do that because he's going to fight Sergey Derevchenko. I don't think Janibek's that good, in my humble opinion. I think he's shown he's susceptible to getting caught. I haven't seen anything that makes me believe he's anything special, that he could be undisputed one day. I think he's a very good fighter. I don't think he's going to be great, in my opinion. I think he needs to fight somebody like you mentioned, to Charlo. I would like to see Munguia. Even some of the up-and-coming youngsters like Elijah Garcia or this kid from Nayarit. The heck was his name? Damn it. I can't think of his name. He won on Showtime. Rosendi. He won on Showtime. I would like to see him fight somebody like that. There's some fighters in the middleweight division. You just got to make the fights. So I hope that Top Rank can get somebody for Janibek, get someone in the ring with Janibek that's worthy, and then we can really see what Janibek's made of. I personally don't think he's anything special. I think he's a good boxer, a good fighter. I don't think he's great.
All right. And then when the quick mention, we have Maloney.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Versus Australobia.
Australia's got a new champion.
Yeah, he's lucky anyways in that weight class no more.
Yes. This was for the vacant title. You're absolutely right. Um, uh, the monster vacated the title. So these dudes were fighting for the vacant title. Astrolabio did what he could, but I have props to Maloney. He recognized early in the fight that he couldn't stand and trade with Astrolabio because if he did, it was going to be a short night for him. And Maloney did what he needed to do. He boxed intelligently, kept his distance, waited for Astrolabio to come to him. He popped him with the jab, landed the right, kept Astrolabio at bay enough every time. When Astrolabio would come for him, he made him pay. And he just boxed an intelligent fight for 12 rounds. And I'm happy that he got the decision because somehow one of the judges had a draw. I did not see a draw. I saw Maloney winning every round convincingly. Again, boxing intelligently. Astrolabio only had one game plan, and that was to land his power punch, and it wasn't enough. He didn't have a plan B, and it cost him.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, there's a lot of action that can happen from Maloney at that weight class.
Anyway's gone.
I mean, you could even see maybe a Bam Rodriguez come up. You never know. Yeah. I know right now he's going to stay at 112 and potentially fight Sonny Edwards, but there's a lot of action at bantamweight. I will always say bantamweight produces great fights. This was a very good fight. I know some of the fans booed it because Maloney did what he was supposed to do and he boxed instead of trade. He booed himself he got booed into a title. Doesn't matter. You won a title. You did what you were supposed to do. You didn't let the crowd bait you in to a fight. Sometimes that's just how you have to do it. Yeah. So I'm happy for Maloney and his brothers fighting this coming weekend. So the brothers could potentially have 2 titles on back-to-back weekends. Granted, I think his brother has a much tougher task, but we'll touch on that later in the week.
Yeah, and then in quick highlight, we have Gabe Flores.
Oh, yes.
With a knockout of the night against Derek Murray.
Beautiful counter. Right, landed flush on the chin. Boom.
He was done for it.
Right on the chin. And that's what happens when it lands on the button, kids.
Yeah.
You can't get up because it landed just perfect right there. And I'm happy for Gabriel Flores because if he loses this fight or takes another beating like he did in his previous fight, it's probably time to hang it up. So props to him for having the mental fortitude to come back and win in that fashion because this helps his confidence immensely. Now let's see how Top Rank matches him up again because I'm assuming he's going to fight later again this year or later in the year. He's young. This fight didn't last long, so I would assume they're going to put him in again at some point in time, maybe late winter time.
Yeah. And then we go across the pond for the big event of the weekend, which was KSI versus Fournier.
Yes,
and
sir.
Was a little controversy here.
Elbow that was.
Yeah.
Or wasn't, according to your boy KSI.
That was almost like Diego Maradona with the hand of God. You're like, nah. And not one person gave a fuck.
It's clear that was an elbow. It is
Fournier's
just clear
appealing
as day.
the loss. He is appealing the loss. But yeah,
that's as clear as day. It's an elbow.
Yeah. And then the argument was, the glove kind of touched first. But no, that's straight elbow.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But got the win. And I mean, dude, these things are huge.
I was gonna say the crowd looks sizable.
They've sold out Wembley. They've sold out O2. They do.
But this wasn't at Wembley. This was at the AO or.
Yeah, but still, what I'm trying to say is they sell it out for, and I'm telling you, the rest of the card was ridiculous. Although Salt Poppy lost, but we did have Tommy Fury in the building, and supposedly the deal is almost done.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I do not doubt
so this will be the next opponent, KSI versus Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury fought more times in the crowd than he has in the past 2 years. He was fighting another YouTuber.
That's right.
Another YouTuber over here. And then, it's just shit show.
Oh, man.
You know? I'm surprised, John Fury isn't throwing
Is this dude a Brit?
Yeah. I think the Idris young guy is a Brit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Brit.
Dang, dude.
Yeah, got a nice little hub of him. Then he got in another fight after this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was another one. I couldn't find a clip of it,
I
but
didn't see the other one.
yeah, there was another kerfuffle with Fury.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be a weird thing, right? When you're that kind of boxing celebrity and you have all these other people, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking take a swing on this guy, try to get a fight going. You know,
Who was the other one?
Idris Young is another YouTuber boxer kind of
Right,
thing.
they're all trying to get in line.
Yeah, and so like take a swing on Tommy and try to get a fight set.
Well,
You know,
you're
maybe
right,
that's what
but
they were.
obviously, they're generating money. Again, I said it when we covered it, or we were doing the lead up to it. So obviously, they do generate money. I mean, if you look at that arena, it did probably more numbers than they did at the Romero and Barroso's fight. That's for damn sure.
Oh hell yeah!
So again, the zone's making money off of it. Otherwise, what is this? How many episodes is this? 7th.
Yeah.
So this is their 7th episode of Misfits,
Yeah,
or
Misfits
7th
7.
event, if you will. Then let's jump to news and notes.
Yeah, so with Jamal Charlo.
Jamal Charlo. He finally mentioned Demetrius Boo Boo Andre. And if you've followed our podcast or know anything about me, I have been calling for this fight for the past 2 years, along with Chris Mannix. I don't want to take all the credit. Chris Mannix has been calling for this fight when they both had titles at 160. This fight has made sense for the past 2, if not 3 years. I hope this happens. Again, I've said it plenty of times. Both of these guys are sitting idle. Fight each other. You're both undefeated. You're both American fighters. At the time, both of you had titles. Now, not so much. Make it happen. It makes perfect sense. I don't understand why it's so hard for this to happen, other than the fact that one guy must not want it. That's the only thing I can point to.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they're saying this, right? Because they didn't strip his belt because of his mental health issues. Yeah. And then you already got one person underneath when Garcia.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's interesting stuff. I don't
No, I
think
agree
it's a
with
good
that.
idea.
What do you mean?
I don't think it's a good idea that he doesn't take some warm up.
Oh, you think he should fight like someone in between?
Yeah, 100%. You know,
Right.
it's been like what, 2 years?
Well, I mean, look at Ryan Garcia. Oscar de la Hoya came out and said that he should have had a fight before Tank, and I said that too, because my thing was, I said it. Tank fought Hector Luis Garcia, iron sharpening iron. Ryan Garcia opted not to fight Mercito Gesta and jumped right into the Tank Davis fight because he was that confident, which you can understand to a certain degree, but that's where the corner comes in. That's where the management comes in and goes, listen, I understand. You're all about yourself. You have confidence. That's great, but you still got to be ready for what you're about to face. And we saw what happened. So, yes, I think Charlo should have someone in between, even though I don't like it, but I think he should. Just like Munguia's about to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko. I don't like that fight, to be clear. I think it's definitely a fight to get him ready for a different fight. With all due respect to Sergey Derevyanchenko, that man's been through too many wars. There is no point in fighting Munguia other than to get himself a paycheck. We'll see what happens with Charlo. And then the other thing we wanted to mention was Virgil Ortiz and Stanionis is back on, thankfully, July 8th in San Antonio, Texas. And this fight was postponed yet again because Virgil Ortiz does have some kind of rare, I don't want to call it disease, but some rare illness that attacks the muscles. So that's why they had to postpone the fight, which was supposed to take place in April 29th. And now it's been rescheduled for July 8th. Let's hope everything is fine with Virgil. Yes, they said it was due to long COVID. I hope everything's okay, and I mean okay long term, because he's a great fighter, and he helps that division. So please, let's hope everything's fine now with Virgil Ortiz. Then the last thing I wanted to mention was, I forgot the other one. I'm sorry, there was another thing I wanted to mention off the top of my head. Now I can't remember. But anyway, if anything, I'll put it on one of our social media sites. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button. And check out our other social media sites, like I mentioned, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Thank you guys. John?
All right, it's bleed.